Hey guys, Captain Kirk here with our final video mini lecture of the term. And I'm here to talk to you about our final projects, our final exam, and your term projects. So you have two things left to do to complete the term. They're both due in December. The term projects are due by the 13th, and the final exam is due by the 15th. Although you're welcome to get started right away and do them soon and be done with this semester. So please feel free. You're in charge of your time, and I encourage you to do anything that works particularly well for you so that you can get on with other work that you have and get on with your festival holiday celebrations. All right, so I'm going to try to talk relatively quickly. Everything that I'm going to cover in this little video is written down in much more specific detail in the assignment section of this week's course content. So I'm going to go pretty fast. It's all there in writing. But this is just to give you an overview, to get you thinking right away about some of the choices that you have to make. All right, so the other thing I want to say about this last bit of work is go to your My Grade book and look at your point score. You're all over the place with different amounts of work. Some of you have missed assignments. Some of you have done extra credit assignments. So just keep that in mind. Where are you? How many points do you still need to earn by the end of the semester? You may have different goals. Again, just to repeat how this works for your grades, 1,000 points or over is an A. B's start at 800 points. C's start at 700 points. So your grade is the number of points you have. And if you've missed up or done double assignments or want to do more assignments, that's all up to you. I've designed the course with lots of flexibility so that you're really in charge of what you are able to do and what you want to do to get the scores and the grades that you're aspiring to. So, with that in mind, the final term projects, or I should say the term projects, have some different point earning potential, and that may influence what you choose. All right, so number one, the first option is to write a dimensions paper. Now, this is a classic, typical English class essay, and it follows exactly the format that we did in the midterm. The only difference is that you get to pick the dimension of love that you talk about, and you get to pick the two texts that you look at. So, there's much more flexibility in this final paper than there was in the midterm. But here's a quick example. If I wanted to write about a dimension of love like forgiveness, which is such a hard thing for all of us to really feel, I think it's important, and everyone says you should forgive, but nobody really, it's much more complicated than that. It's worth writing a paper about. It's worth looking for models to both become better at it and more realistic about what's involved in forgiveness. I certainly have people that I need to forgive in my life, and people have had to forgive me. So it's also got real world applications. These essays are about real world applications. So you should think about all the dimensions of love that you like. How do you know this one's for you? Should you get married? Can I marry somebody out of race? Should I divorce? Are divorces part of love? How do we do with breakups? What are breakups? What about spiritual love? What's it really? Everyone's got lots and lots of words, but what's it look like? What about family love? What's it mean to be a loving father or a loving son or a loving sister? What's that look like? Where could I get better, more specific information about all those different dimensions of love? Well, those are some of the questions that are important to me. You get to think about the important questions that are important to you. So if I wanted to talk about forgiveness, because I think it's important and I think it's adult and challenging, what two texts have we looked at where something like forgiveness is involved? Well, I would go right away to Gilead because that's certainly about praying for forgiveness in that final scene. And another text, I like Marilyn Robinson. It's difficult, the language is challenging, but man, I could really look more at that sunrise sunset scene and the language. That there's a lot of stuff there that is worth my time and attention to go spend some time with. Gilead is one. Where else is there forgiveness? In Dante, no. In Gardenia's, not really. In Brokeback, I don't think so. The Shape of Things. Nope, not The Shape of Things. There's no one to... that's what it is. Do You Know Where I Am? Sherman Alexie's. There's a betrayal. Sharon cheats on her husband, and they somehow stay together. Now, they never use the words of forgiveness, but it's kind of an interesting example why they don't use the words forgiveness, and what an interesting contrast to have a Native American story versus a very Christian story. So that's a reason to put those two texts together, despite the fact that they're in this class. But it's nice to think about what's a rationale for these texts for someone who's not in our class for the readers of your essay. All right, so I've got my forgiveness. I'm going to write a whole paragraph about that dimension by means of introducing my my paper. Forgiveness, it's a dimension of love, two texts that deal with it, Then I'm going to take one text and really look. I'm going to use Gilead first because it's Christian. It uses forgiveness words. Find 3 quotes, build 3 IIAT paragraphs. Boom, 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 boom. I've got 3 paragraphs all about how forgiveness looks like. Loving forgiveness in the Gilead. Big pivot. I go to the second part of my middle. I have 3 quotes about Sharon and David in Do You Know Where I Am? Boom, boom, boom. Finish my middle. Okay, so I've got a beginning. I have one text, 3 quotes, another text, 3 quotes, and I move to my ending, which very importantly in this final essay is now I talk about real life. What have these texts taught me about my real life? So the midterm essays were really weakest when they did that high school thing. I've talked about these 2 texts have said compare and contrast. That's not what we're asking for in this college level essay. We're asking for, okay, so what? What do these texts teach me about a real life, real 2021, the real world? And so that's there's lots to write about our learning as we've gone into those final paragraph or 2. Many people take a whole page or 2 to do that connections part, that so what, that why does this teach us? So you're familiar with the format. Most of you have done it already with a different dimension of love. It's a really challenging, very important essay, but something that is wonderful to be proud of. So that's the high point option, and that's the option that I've always required in my live courses. For those of you ambitious who are going to write this essay, I am your writing coach. I'm available to you between now and the 13th. You can schedule a conference time with me anytime you're available. I'll make myself available. Just send me 3 times that you're available. I will look at drafts. I will ask questions. So you're not alone writing this essay. It's a thing that we can do together, and I'm eager to help you, and I'm eager for those of you who are really working on your writing skills, who are going on to do more writing and want to use our final weeks as an opportunity to get more individual coaching. I'm here for you, folks. That's what I live to do. I know it sounds odd, but I love this stuff. That's the end of option 1. Option 2 is a creative project. It's worth 100 points, and anything goes. Anything goes. You can write a song, you can do a dance, you can make a collage, you can draw, you can paint, you can display in mud, you can do an installation on the streets of Bridgeport. Any creative response that you enjoy, that you are using, a skill that you're developing. The only requirements are you have to pick a dimension of love, and somehow you have to use readings in 2 texts to explore that dimension. So, that's very loose, but I want you to, before you do whatever that creative project is, I want you to have gone to those 2 texts and look for its colors or its tone or its feelings or its emotion. However you want to use your creative process, you may, but your project must be informed by your reading of those 2 texts in all the ways it can be. You may use images, but so after you've done that, I want you to pick 2 texts. After you've done that, I want anything goes, but there must be a page or two rationale. My project does this, uses this medium, it investigates this, and is inspired by my readings of these two texts. So this is a much doesn't have to be analytical, but it does have to be inspired somehow by those texts, connecting your literary investigation with your own artistic expression. So that's 100 points. Again, I am available to talk that through, to test me, to ask me for more either by email or in a Zoom call. I'm here for you. That's my job. Okay, third option is really interesting. Third option is a reading option. It's worth 150 points. And I've given you 5 texts, 5 short stories, actually 4 stories and an essay. A couple of them are really short, and I think 1 or 2 of them are kind of long, but they are great. Each one is great in its own way. So your job is to read the 5, to rank them best to worst for use in this class next semester. So you actually get to play Professor Captain Kirk. You are put in the position that I am. Every time I design a course, I have to decide the readings that we're going to read. And I have to have a justification to me and to you for why we've selected those. So I selected Dante because it's important for me that you guys have some you do something hard from history. And Dante is so foundational in so many ways. Same reason I did Song of Solomon. It's old, it's hard. I want you to be aware of how you can tackle old stuff, and you don't have to be afraid of it just because it's difficult at first. So that's a justification. Well, you've got these other times I thought, wow, I love Sherman Alexie's Native American. It's very real life. It's an easy read. It's lots of so there's justifications for our readings. So you get to put Captain Kirk hat on. You've got 5 to read, put them in order. And then once you've ranked them, you're going to take your first one and you're going to tell me, why is that the course that students should read next semester? How come? What's it do for the course that the course needs? And then secondly, where it should go in the course. Should it be first? Should it be last? Should it be after Dante? Should it be before Brokeback? You're going to tell me where it goes. So the third option for 150 points is really a reading option, and it gives you also a chance to think about all the readings this class. For those of you who are busy and want to do the minimum writing, I think that's a really good option for you to get 150 points. So those are the 3 options. You must do one. You could do more, I guess, if you wanted to or needed the points, but you only have to do one, and it's your choice which to pick. So that's the term project. The last thing I want to tell you about is your final exam. And your final exam is an essay exam. And actually, you're going to like it. So you have to write an essay, but the essay is all about your experience in this class. So it's a self-assessment essay, but I've put much, much more detail in the assignment. And it's got a bunch of parts. I want you to talk about your lexicon. I want you to talk about our readings and lectures. I want you to talk about, what else? Oh, how your reading skill has changed, how your writing skill has changed. I want you to think about the onlineness of this course and all the things you've had to learn and the bumps in the road, all the challenges that you faced in the online environment. And I also want you to think about anything that's been great about it or good or positive. What were the high points in this asynchronous online class for you? So boom, 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 boom. Those are the categories. Again, they're listed in the assignment, and there's more questions. There's lots and lots of questions. There's all to get you to think. But this final exam essay is really a chance for you to reflect, to sort of wrap up your learning, to take some credit for the good hard work that you've done. It's also a chance for you to show off your writing. You've learned a lot about MLA writing style, about shapely sentences, about sounding like a real person, talking about stuff that matters, about quoting. So these are all things that you might incorporate into this final exam essay to show off, to demonstrate what you know and what you've learned in our time together. You want to draft it, of course, but you also want to rewrite it, proofread it. You may want to show it to somebody else to read it for smoothness. You might want to read it out loud so you get a chance of bumpy sentences that could be polished or that it also sounds like you. So be as generous and specific as you are able and as you find productive for yourself. And I've asked you to take that essay and post it on the discussion board. So by doing that, it's available for everybody to read. And it's really, in previous semesters, these essays are great. It's really interesting to hear people talk about what texts they really like or appreciated, and what things surprised them, and what they didn't know that they know now or they know differently, or so all that's fun to read, and that's an option too, to read and comment on those final exam essay discussion board posts. So there you go, folks. It's the beginning of December 2nd. This work may be done at any time. The final due date, absolutely, for the term projects is Sunday the 13th. That's about 10 or 12 days from now. The final assessment essay, the final essay exam, I want you to do that after you've done the term project. So I don't care when you do it. I don't care when you're done with the class. But I want you to finish everything you've done, and that exam essay is the last thing that you do. The absolute drop-dead due date for that is the 15th. And that has to be submitted. If that final exam is not submitted, you can't receive credit for the class, no matter how many points you have. That's an absolute requirement by the school. So that final exam has to happen. So make sure it's a high priority and that you get it done. Last but not least, I hope I see you guys on campus in the future. I am your Captain Kirk. I shall always be your Captain Kirk. You may contact me next semester. I really am available on campus. I'm available on screen. And since we know each other a little bit, I'm a resource for you. So consider me as an advisor. Consider me as a cheerleader and a booster and on your team, because you've earned it. I am so impressed with how you guys have just conquered all kinds of obstacles and all kinds of challenges to be here at the end in our final video together. So know that I'm thinking of you. This last little punch and push is one of the most satisfying times of the semester. It's how many words you've gotten, and oh my gosh, I know what discernment means now. Knowledge is satisfying, and it's really great in this last week or two together for you to get that satisfaction of the things, the clarity, and the precision of terms that you have developed in this work, and I certainly delight in it as well. Have a blast, and I look forward to hearing from you soon. Be well, guys.